Okay. Hi, everybody. How are you today? Welcome to Drop In with Marianne. I am Marianne. I am an ESL instructor at Brock University in St. Catharines, Ontario in Canada. And most of you probably are already studying here, but maybe we have some new faces. So if we do, I'd like to say welcome. And I hope you enjoy our conversation today about idioms. We have been talking about idioms all week for a couple of reasons. Number one, you hear them a lot. If you hear something a lot, you need to know what it refers to or what it means. You also, if you are studying English, need to know how to use idioms correctly to communicate effectively with the people that you're talking to. Idioms, as I said before, idioms are a cultural language. They are expressions of that culture. And you probably have idioms in your language. And idioms don't really make sense. They sound kind of crazy because if you listen to an idiom literally, it makes no sense. For example, I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse. That doesn't make any sense. Nobody can eat an entire horse, and nobody should. But it just means that you are very, very hungry. Another one is it's raining cats and dogs. I've told you this example before because it's one of the craziest ones that we have. Of course it's not raining cats and dogs. Animals don't fall from the sky. It just means that it's raining very heavily. And these are examples of why we don't take idioms literally. Now that can be hard when you're learning a new language because when you are studying a new language, what do? You listen for every word. You get your dictionary or your translator and you try and figure out what each word means. But that's a mistake with idioms because idioms need to be studied in whole, in general, not the specific words. Otherwise, you will get very confused. Now, this week, we were talking about idioms that use body parts. I am going to change it up a little bit today. We're going to forget the body parts because we pretty much beat that one to death. Do you like that idiom? We finished doing the body ones, but there are so many other idioms, and we can go over some more that don't talk about the body, but are just as effective in communication. Remember, you guys, when you are learning English, the best way to learn and retain the information is to practice. Talk to your friends, talk to your teachers, talk to your homestay families. Talk, talk, talk. The more you practice, the more it will go into your head and the more you will be able to speak off the top of your head without being nervous and without making mistakes. And remember, you guys, if you make some mistakes when you are speaking, that's okay. People make mistakes all the time. I make mistakes. I say things sometimes that are not correct or that maybe have the grammar a little bit off. Everybody makes mistakes that way. So don't feel bad if you are speaking English and you make a mistake. Sometimes students make mistakes and then they just stop talking. Well, that's a really bad idea, you guys, because if you stop talking, you don't get to practice. And if you don't practice, it doesn't go in here. We need our vocabulary to go in there. Okay. Let's start with some new idioms for today. There is one idiom I really like. This one is a blessing in disguise. Now, a blessing in disguise is something that appears bad, but it's actually very good. Have you heard that expression before? If it is a blessing in disguise, that means It looks like something that could possibly be bad, but it's actually very good. Let's think of an example. If something is a blessing in disguise, well, let's say you are taking a trip. You have your airplane ticket, you are ready to go, and all of a sudden, they cancel the flight. You will probably be really disappointed, and you probably won't be happy. But then you find out something was terribly wrong with the airplane, and if you had taken off, you would have crashed. That delay ended up being a blessing in disguise. A disguise is like a mask. It doesn't show the truth. That's why it looks bad, but it ends up being good. If you want to use the expression, a blessing in disguise, in a sentence, you would say, wow, that airplane delay or that flight cancellation was a blessing in disguise. Was, because we're talking about past tense, was a blessing in disguise. Can you think of another example of a blessing in disguise? I wish I could hear you, and then I could hear your examples, because I bet they're good. Another blessing in disguise. What is something that could happen that could seem like a bad thing? Well, let's say you are driving to school, and your car breaks down. Oh no, I'm going to be late for class. You start to panic. You start to freak out. What are you going to do? You're going to be late. But then you find out, guess what? School got canceled. It was a blessing in disguise. You weren't late for class. You didn't have to go to school. And then you had time to turn around and go back home and get your car fixed. Another blessing in disguise could be something to do with maybe a test, to do with shopping, to do with going to a restaurant. You don't know. Whatever looks like a bad thing is, when something looks like a bad thing is happening, but it turns out that it worked out for your good, that is called a blessing in disguise. Okay, another expression that we use, and this is a good one, you guys. This one is actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than words. What? How can actions speak loudly? Easy. Think about it. Actions speak louder than words. You can yell your words. You can whisper your words. But your actions show the truth. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's say you're talking to somebody and they say, oh, I care about people so much. I really am concerned about hungry people. I feel so bad for them. Somebody should do something. Somebody should give money. Somebody should help these poor people. But they never give money. They never help them. They walk right past hungry people and they don't give them any food. They don't give them money. They don't even talk to them. Actions speak louder than words. Their words are saying that they care, but their actions are showing that they don't care. And their actions are speaking much louder than their words. If you wanted to use this in an expression, you could say to somebody, now, I'll give you a scenario. Let's say your friend Jane says that she loves to eat steak. It's her favorite food. She talks about it all the time. She talks about how she's so good at cooking steak. She says that she is the best steak cooker around. She's great at barbecuing. She tells everybody all the time. Jane invites you for dinner. You go for dinner. What does she give you? Rice and beans. Those actions speak louder than words, because she's talking about how she can cook steak so well, and then Jane invites you for dinner and gives you beans and rice. That's not a very good meal, especially when she's bragging about cooking steak. Actions speak louder than words. Now, that's a silly example, and it probably would never happen. But there are other examples where it could happen, and it does happen a lot. For example, when I use the example of somebody who talks about caring for other people, there are other examples where maybe at work, somebody is talking about how they will help you with something. Maybe they will help you do an activity that you need to plan. Maybe they will help you build something that you need to build. But when the time comes to do the planning or to do the building, this person disappears. They don't help. They don't come around, and you can't find them. Those actions speak louder than words. We hear that, or we see examples of that a lot. Now, let's use it in a sentence. You know what, Jane? Your actions speak louder than words. Thanks for the dinner. Now, you probably wouldn't say that. That'd be pretty rude. But it's just an example. Now, if you're at work or you're building something and somebody doesn't help you and they disappear, well, the next time you see them, you could say, "Hey, Anthony, actions speak louder than words. Where were you?" Actions speak louder than words. Be careful when you make promises or when you say to people that you will help them with something. Because if you say that you can help them with something and you don't do it, your actions speak louder than words. And that is, well, pretty disappointing for the person who is counting on you. Now, another idiom that you might hear, and this is a pretty good one. This is on thin ice. On thin ice. This means if you are on thin ice, it means if you make one more mistake, you're in trouble. For example, let's say you do some quizzes or some tests or assignments at school. The first assignment, you get 100. The second assignment, you get 0. The third is a 60. The next one is a 40, then a 90, then a 70, then a 60. Now, you are on thin ice. Because you've gotten a few bad marks and because you have a few good marks, hopefully you'll pass. Hopefully it'll be somewhere in the middle. But being in the middle is being on thin ice. And that means if you are on thin ice, you're about to have a bad consequence with your marks because you don't have very much ice to walk on. What happens when we walk on thin ice? We fall through. We fall through the ice to the freezing cold water. Now, if somebody is on thin ice, that means they better be careful because something bad might happen. Now, it can happen in a lot of things. It can happen at work. It can happen at school. It can happen with your friends. If your friend is a little bit disappointed in you and a little bit upset, they might turn to you and they might say, "You know what, Kay? You're on thin ice. You know what, Sam? You better be careful because you're on thin ice." That means you're this close to getting in big trouble. That means you are very close to either failing your grade, losing a friendship, losing a relationship, and you better be careful because nobody wants to live on thin ice. Now, let's think of a sentence aside from the angry one. Wow, Johnny better be careful. He is on thin ice. Janie better be careful making that dinner. She's on thin ice, and if that dinner doesn't turn out well, people will not be happy. These are examples of using on thin ice. On thin ice. Remember to use the word on. You can't just say, she's thin ice. No, she's on thin ice. All right, I think you'll remember that one. Now, there's another one, and you might know this expression because it has been around forever. It is not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. Now, what does that mean? What? Not my cup of tea? Well, all that means is that it's something you're not very interested in. Maybe it's something you don't like very much. For example, oh, Kay, she's not my cup of tea. That means, as a person, Kay's not my cup of tea. She's just not the kind of person that I would be friends with. Now, let's say somebody says to you, oh, would you like this chocolate bar? You might say, oh, no, thank you. That's not my cup of tea. You use this expression if it's something that you're not interested in or that it's something that you just don't like very much. Not my cup of tea. Now, that's a weird idiom. Why would they say, not my cup of tea? What does tea have to do with anything? Why isn't it, that's not my cup of coffee? I don't know. Remember, we don't know where a lot of idioms come from. And we really don't want to know because they're so old and they're so embedded in that we just use it all the time when we are trying to be clear. So let's say somebody says to you, where should we go on vacation? Do you want to go to Europe? Do you want to go to Asia? Do you want to go to South America? Well, any of those places are beautiful, but they're not always everybody's cup of tea. And that means they're just not interested in going to maybe some of those places. And that's okay. It's just not their cup of tea. Not my cup of tea, not your cup of tea, not their cup of tea, not his cup of tea, not her cup of tea. You use the correct pronoun when you are describing whose cup of tea. Now, would you say that in a positive? Would you like this chocolate cake? Oh, now that's my cup of tea. Well, possibly. I guess so. But it's usually used in the negative. Oh, no thank you. Chocolate's not my cup of tea. I like vanilla. This is how you might use my cup of tea or not my cup of tea. Oh, I didn't like that movie. It just wasn't my cup of tea. It was too violent. These are ways that you can use not my cup of tea. Now, another expression that we use, and I don't know if you guys have heard this one before, but this one is miss the boat. John missed the boat. What? Does that mean we were going on a boat ride and John missed the boat? No, miss the boat doesn't mean you missed an actual boat. Missed the boat means you didn't quite understand a meaning of something, or you didn't quite get or understand a situation. For example, Janie really missed the boat with that homework assignment. What could that mean? Well, it sounds like Janie didn't understand what the homework assignment was about. So she answered the wrong question. Have you ever done that? Oh, that is the worst. When you have an exam or a test and you have to write an essay or a paragraph and the teacher gives you the topic and you misunderstand the topic and you write about the wrong thing, that is the worst feeling. Well, everybody misses the boat sometimes. And in my example, Janie was supposed to write a paragraph on how procrastination can be a bad thing. But what did she do? She wrote a paragraph on why she likes to procrastinate with everything. Janie missed the boat on that assignment. Now we can say miss the boat in the past tense, missed the boat. Janie missed the boat. You can say, I hope I don't miss the boat. Well, that sounds a little bit awkward, but let's say you get an exam and you don't really understand the question. You might say to somebody, I really hope I understand the questions on that exam. I hope I don't miss the boat on any of the questions. Even though it's future, you can still use it. It's just a lot more common in the past, but we do use it in the future, and that's okay. All right, that's a great expression, and you should really practice using miss the boat or missing the boat. But remember, if you use missing the boat, you must use the verb to be. He is really missing the boat in this meeting. She is really missing the boat on this answer. It makes you uncomfortable when somebody is missing the boat on something because you want them to do well. You don't want them to make mistakes. It's hard. However, we all do it because we're all human. And if you miss the boat on something, that's okay. Are you ready? Here's another one. Hang in there. What? I'm not hanging on anything. No, you're not really hanging. If somebody says, hang in there, it means don't give up. If you miss the boat on something, that's okay. You can do it better next time because if you hang in there, you don't give up and you try and try again. Hang in there. There's only one way to say that idiom. Hang in there. You are, again, encouraging somebody. We've talked a lot about idioms that encourage, and we talk about idioms that make people feel better. Well, cheer up, chill out, hang in there are all pretty positive idioms. Hang in there, you would say to your friend who is struggling with something. For example, let's say Johnny is building a statue. He's trying to fix this statue, and it is looking like a really difficult job. It's hard to do. The statue sits on a big base. The base is chipped away. The base is falling apart. How is Johnny going to fix that? Johnny is trying his best to fix this base of the statue. If he tells you about this task, you might say, oh, Johnny, hang in there. You will get it. You'll do a great job when it's finished, and it will look beautiful. Just hang in there and don't give up. You might say to your friend, maybe at school, let's say, let's think of my friend, who shall I say, Richard. Let's say Richard and I are in class together, and Richard really struggles with grammar. He has a hard time with idioms, and we have an idiom quiz on Friday. I might say to Richard, hang in there, keep studying. You will do this, and you will do a good job. Don't give up. Hang in there. Hanging in there is a very positive thing to say to another person. It's a really nice thing, and it's very positive, and it's very encouraging. Now, there is another one that is a great expression, and you have probably heard this before. No pain, no gain. No pain, no gain. Have you ever tried exercising? What happens when you exercise? Sometimes your muscles get really sore. If you are lifting weights, it can be really heavy, and your muscle in your arm or legs or whatever gets really sore? Well, somebody might say, no pain, no gain. What does that mean? Well, when you exercise, you feel pain in your muscles. Is that a bad thing? No, it's a good thing. It's a big gain. Why? Because you're getting stronger, you're getting healthier, you're getting stronger. No pain, no gain. It is a very encouraging, positive thing. No pain, no gain. You can use this expression in any situation that requires something uncomfortable for something good. For example, let's say you want to get healthier. You go on a diet. That means no cake, no candy, no sugar, only vegetables and protein and healthy carbohydrates. Well, by day 5, you might be a little bit frustrated. You might be getting a little bit hungry for some cake. But your friend will turn and say, oh no, 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 no pain, no gain. That means the pain of not eating sugar is worth the gain of losing some weight and being healthy. That idiom is really popular, and you will hear that on TV, in movies, in commercials on TV. It's everywhere. I think some famous sports things use that expression also. No pain, no gain. It's the same with studying. Nobody likes studying. That's a lot of pain, especially when you can't watch your movies and you can't go out with your friends. No pain, no gain. If you don't have the pain of studying and missing out on a fun time, you do not have the gain of getting a good mark and making your parents happy and feeling good about your accomplishments. All right, you guys, this was a fantastic week of studying idioms. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you got to practice. And remember, keep talking so you can keep practicing your English. Send me an email at the email address below, and I will answer your questions, and I will talk about any grammar subjects that you would like to cover on Drop In with Marianne. Thank you, you guys, for joining me at Drop In with Marianne. I love meeting with you every day, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for seeing me. Bye.